Hi. Do you think that you could be wasting your life? Well, that's something important we want to talk about. We don't always know that we can be intentional in our living and live an intentional life. You may not, if you are here, you probably realize to some extent you've seen some signs that you're wasting your life and you're wondering what you can do. Well, when I was at a young age, I had finished high school, I had finished college, I had a first job, and it wasn't working out quite how I would have liked it to have been. I started thinking about, well, maybe that's not quite correct. I don't remember actually thinking about it, but I found myself starting to do things that were productive, that were going to help me. I did actually a lot of things. I ended up taking salsa dancing. I ended up learning the guitar, ended up learning piano, ended up getting some vocal lessons. I joined Toastmasters. I started taking more classes as I started to consider what fields I could go into, things I could do more of. But I was going to the library and I was reading all kinds of books, and I was just seeing where that took me. Now, that still wasn't intentional living, and I kind of wonder what abilities we have at certain ages to get to intentional living. There's some thoughts that your brain isn't even fully developed until you're 25 years old. And if that's true, that means a lot of our 18 to 25 years may be making decisions that affect the rest of their lives without really having the full capacity to direct themselves by using our brain, which is one of the main tools that we have in order to use this world and to navigate it. Which brings us to some powerful thoughts. If our brain is helping us navigate the world, it makes sense that if we don't treat it properly and we don't give it the information that it requires to help us make good decisions, that could be possibly why we're having issues, or sometimes we feel maybe we are wasting your life. If you're driving a car, you kind of know what's going to help that car run better. First of all, the obvious one is you're going to have to put gas in it. And then regular oil changes, maintenance. If something happens, like an accident or some type of natural disaster, you may have to get some repairs done because of that. There's also natural wear and tear. Based on how many miles you've been driving the vehicle, there's going to be some regular maintenance that's required in order to keep it going properly. And do we have energy vampires? Are you trying to do things and you're actually on a good level and you're doing really well and you know what you're supposed to do and you're doing it, and somehow that energy that you need and during those times is just not there? It could be based on things that you're doing, but it could also be that people or activities or information is sucking that energy out of you. So it's going to be important for you to be able to raise that energy so that you can go on and live that life that you're looking for. In a book I read called Influencer, it talks about how most people are constrained by their ability or their motivation. So sometimes you have people that actually have built those skills. They know what they're doing. They're capable of doing that job, but they're not motivated. And when that's part of the issue, it's important to consider that, because you don't necessarily have to retrain this person. You just have to find that motivation that's going to allow them to feel that it's the best thing for them to do at that moment. Now, when you talk about at that moment, it might not be something you say real quick and then they just start doing it. It can be a time-intensive process. Another book I read called Take the Stairs discusses how we're often wanting things to happen instantly, but sometimes those things take time. And if we can mold our actions and mold our brain activity in order to do more of those things, we're going to get better results. Even with me, with some of my entrepreneurial endeavors and aspirations, I've been realizing it's really about me taking the actions that create the results more than me getting the results, which can be a challenge to focus on. I mean, you might want money, you might want friends, you might want customers, you might want product, you might want a big name, but what are the components that go into that? Are you working on those? Are you talking to people? Because if you're not talking to people, then you're probably not getting customers. If you're not doing a marketing strategy, you may not be getting customers. Now, let's talk about some of the things that we're more familiar with at a young age. If you're in a sport or even in your math or your reading, the more you read, the easier it gets to read more sentences. It's interesting, as I've gotten older, some of the communication methods that I've been learning actually suggest start reading one word at a time. And then as you get to where you can read that one word at a time consistently, add a second word, add a third word. And this affects how you're able to learn a new skill in this situation. Now, I would argue that it's not if you're wasting your life. As in some ways, you are wasting your life. In sports, learn the concept about wasted movement. And what wasted movement applies to is that sometimes, probably most of the time, we're doing activities that have a wasted component in it that we don't have to do. For instance, in running, a lot of people run with their arms, sometimes with their shoulders, and they think if they go like this, it's making them run harder or faster, when really it's not. The body is really designed, you keep your arms down, and there is some movements that you use in order to run better. I learned this also in college when I was learning the 40-yard dash. With the 40-yard dash, what I had been taught, you put your hands down, they're going to start timing you as soon as you make a movement, and you run to the end. Now, that's very helpful. What I didn't realize, there are actually certain ways you can run for that first 10 yards that really give you a burst of power and speed. And then after that 10 yards, you can actually change your running style a little bit. It actually helps you glide the rest of the way. And you're just using that momentum that you started in the first place to keep gliding, which really helped my 40 times speed when I was working on it. So those are some things I wanted to share with you about intentional living and things that you can do to stop wasting your life. If you have any questions about how you can actually do some of these things, I'm here for you. I'm also going to put some links to some resources that have helped me be able to develop my ability to express myself and also have the potential to make some money with it. And I think that's very important as we're entering at some times that we don't necessarily understand where we're going to go. But definitely let me know what you think of this video. Please subscribe if you haven't, and love to hear from you. This is LG Lawrence Green. Have a great